Hi everyone, Lee from ESU here, and in this video we're going to talk a little bit about ESU decoders and a little bit extra that you can do with them. So just like any other decoder, ESU decoders work with CVs, and so we're just following this line of we can program the address, we can program the start voltage, acceleration, deceleration, all these CVs that all can be programmed with your DCC system. Any DCC system, NCE, Digitrax, MRC, it doesn't matter. Of course, we would prefer that you would use our ECOS or our cab control, which are going to give you the most advanced features for our decoders. But any DCC system will program any ESU decoder using CVs. And so all these rumors that you have to have a computer to program an ESU decoder just don't make any sense, because every system will program CVs. And ESU decoders do have a lot of CVs, but that's just adding more features. So what we do is we just go along this timeline of, okay, you can do these things with our decoder and everybody else's decoder, and then suddenly you run out of things that you can do with the other decoder brands. And ESU, we just keep going. We take that timeline even further. And so now, in order to take advantage of some of those things, such as being able to update the firmware on your decoders or add in things with the sound schedule, swap out horns, bells, add your own sounds, and some things like that, we invite you to treat yourself to the LokProgrammer. And this video is going to talk a little bit about setting up the LokProgrammer and making sure that it all works for you. And yes, we're going to have to get a computer involved. That's what the LokProgrammer is all about. But I don't want you to be discouraged. The programmer is hardware, it plugs in, you can kind of almost forget about it. Everything that you're going to do is going to be on the computer. We have our own LokProgrammer software that works with the LokProgrammer to make all of this extremely easy. Now, of course, on the basic side, if you're not interested in doing any sound file changes or adding your own sounds, which most people really aren't actually, that's just fine. The LokProgrammer actually makes things a lot easier when you're going to program all the basic CVs. So even the things like changing the horn type, the volumes, your speeds, all of those basic things that you can do with CVs, the LokProgrammer makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. And the biggest reason for that is it communicates to the decoder through Railcom, and all of the CVs can be written in a blink. Less than about 10 seconds. It writes over 2,000 CVs to a Lok sound decoder and about 1,000 CVs in a Lok pilot decoder. You don't even need a motor attached, and it will write all of the CVs through the Railcom. So it just makes life a lot easier when you're working with ESU decoders. Again, not a necessary component if you literally want to take it out of the box, program the address, and run your trains. You're absolutely free to do that. If you want to just change one thing, master volume is CV63. Horn volume is very easy to change with an index, CV32 to 1, and then you would set those accordingly as per the manual. Very easy to do with your DCC system. But we invite you to give yourself the VIP treatment and give our LokProgrammer a try. It will make things a lot easier. Now, it does work with Windows computers only. And you might think, oh, I need to go out and buy a Windows computer. You really don't. If you're not a Windows user, it doesn't require a really high-end Windows machine to work. You can go and get a really inexpensive laptop. I got one for around $300 or less, and it actually works really, really well with our programmer. It doesn't require a lot of computing power. So don't be afraid of the programmer. And starting with the series here on the setup and all that, once we get through that, we're going to start a series on the LokProgrammer software, and we'll walk you through how the software works and all the different features and functions of the software. Now, I know you're really eager, you got your programmer possibly, and you're ready to get it all set up. But before we even take it out of the box, we have to do some computer work first, and then we can plug it in. So now I'm going to show you how to get it set up on the computer, and we'll come back, we'll show you the hardware components, and plug it into the computer. Stay tuned. Alright, so in order to get the FTDI chipset driver and the LokProgrammer software onto your computer, you'll need to go to our website at www.loksound.com, and this will be the home page here where you can go to Downloads, Firmware and Software, LokProgrammer PC software, And you'll see the current version posted here at the top. The current version of the software will always be at the top of the page. As of this video, it's 5.2.15. If you're watching this video sometime in the future, the current version may have been updated, but the process here is the same for getting it installed. So we're just going to click download, and that will download to our downloads folder. And while that's going, we can look at our USB driver for FTDI chipset. This is this last one here. The LokProgrammer software does require Windows. So we're going to go ahead and just download this. This is for the cable that comes with the LokProgrammer itself. That will also download to your downloads folder. And now at this point, we're going to click on the ESU logo to take us back to the home page. You can leave this open. We'll have to come back here for the next part of the video, which we'll show you here shortly. But let's get the software and the driver installed. So now you'll want to click on your folder icon down on your toolbar, and that will open up to your downloads folder here. Just double click on your downloads folder. We're going to right click on the FTDI USB driver and hit extract all. Now I'm using Windows 11. This should also work in Windows 10. Just hit extract all and hit extract. We're going to do the same thing with the LokProgrammer software, extract all. That's a right click, extract all, and then you'll get these two folders. Now we're going to install the driver first, so open up its folder. You'll see FTDI setup, double click that. You'll have to say yes on the pop-up window, and then you'll get the installing the driver. And that's all it's going to take. Go up arrow, go back to the LokProgrammer software, and we'll double click on the LokProgrammer setup. Again, say yes, and then we'll walk through the steps. So hit next. If you want a desktop icon, you can choose to have one or not. I'm going to go ahead and let it stay on. I'm also going to install it in the default location on the C drive. The LokProgrammer software doesn't take a lot of space, so it's recommended to just leave it install in the C drive. But if you want to install it on a different hard drive on your computer, you can certainly browse and find that location, or just type the location directly in. I'm going to let it just install in the C drive. And now you can choose in the Start menu folder which one you might want a shortcut to go into. I'm not going to do the shortcut, but if you'd like one, you can certainly do it. So now we just hit install. And you'll see it extracting a bunch of files. And it doesn't take too long here, and now it's installed. So now we want to uncheck this box for Start the software, because we don't really want to start it at this point. We're going to hit Finish, and then we will discuss the next steps. You can actually now close this. We'll discuss the next steps here next on getting a sound file downloaded and uploaded into the software so that you can put it onto your decoder. So stay tuned, and we'll show you that process here next. All right, now that we've gotten the FTDI chipset driver installed on the computer, as well as the LokProgrammer software, we can now actually plug in the LokProgrammer. Yay! So here's all the components that you'll get with the LokProgrammer out of the box. We have the LokProgrammer device itself. You'll see it labeled perfectly for track out. It'll also come with the green screw terminal connector where you can plug in your wires, which will go out to your piece of track. Note that the LokProgrammer is a standalone device. It does not connect to your DCC system in any way. You must use a separate piece of track, not your DCC system's program track. Now, if you're very careful with the wiring, you can use a center off double pull, double throw switch and go from DCC programming over to LokProgrammer programming and use the same piece of track. But ideally, you want to center off so that there's no way the LokProgrammer power can ever contact the DCC system's program track. Power will get backfed into one of the devices and you could damage the device. So it's really best just to keep a separate track, maybe on your workbench or somewhere else, for the LokProgrammer. But this is where you would connect the track. You can also use a pair of alligator clip leads to these round connectors here. I call them barrel connectors, and you can run those out to a piece of track as well. And then you'll have your status lights here. You'll get a green light when you power up the programmer and an orange flickering light when it's actually programming, or if you're in the driver's cab, which I'll show you, it will flicker whenever the power is on to the track. On the other side, we have our connection for the power supply that's right in front of me here. This just plugs right into the wall, and you just plug it right in here. If you're running in the larger scales and you need a little bit more current or a little more amps, this is a 1/2 amp power supply. You can always put in a 1 amp power supply or a little bit higher, as long as it doesn't exceed 20 volts DC, then you're in really good shape. And you can connect that power supply separately to this side. Some of the programmers will have a green connector, some of them will have a black connector, but this is where that power in, if you have to use a separate DC power supply, can wire into. And then we have the PC port here, the serial port. That is for the FTDI chipset cable that will plug into the USB socket on your computer. So we'll just go ahead and get that connected up by just plugging this right in. You can tighten these down if you'd like. I'm just going to do it a little bit just to make sure the cable doesn't fall off. And then we're going to plug our power supply in. Let that go down there. We'll plug that in. And just to show you when we plug it in, that you will get a green status light here at the top. And that'll tell you that the track power is working and everything is working with the programmer. And then we can just take our USB and plug it into any USB port on the computer. That's an HDMI port. It will not work. You got to plug it into USB. And then we can take our connector. Now I already have a piece of track here with a green connector already on. Another quick word about these green connectors is you want to make sure to unscrew the screws fully, and so the little plate will fall, the wire will go in, and you'll tighten up the screws, and then you can tug on it pretty heavily and the wire will not come out. So I'm just going to replace this one here with this one, and that is it. So the LokProgrammer is now set up on your computer and ready to go. Almost. We'll show you the next part. You'll have to do one quick setup part in the LokProgrammer software in order for the computer to communicate with the programmer. But that's part of the software side, which we'll show in a follow-up video here coming up next. All right, so now that we've gotten the programmer connected to the computer, of course, the first thing you're going to want to do is get a sound file written to a blank decoder. So if you happen to have a locomotive that you've just installed one of our decoders into, like this Rio Grande here, we can simply connect it to a piece of track, place the locomotive on the rails. Again, this is a separate track, not connected to your DCC system. I do have a LokSound 5 DCC decoder in here, one of our 50348 speakers, and we can then grab a sound file and load it onto this locomotive. Now this one would be an EMD 16645. So if you wanted to know what prime mover is in your locomotive and what sound file is appropriate for your locomotive, it's easy just to go out on the internet, type in, I have an SD40, what's the prime mover? Or if you happen to know the locomotive type or the prime mover type, you can just type that directly into our website and you'll find the prime mover you're looking for. In this case, a tunnel motor would use our EMD 16645E prime mover. So we're going to go to the website and we'll show you how to get to the sound file. We're going to download the sound file and get it loaded onto the decoder first before we do any other programming. So we're going to turn to the website now and we're going to go to loksound.com and go to Downloads, Sound Files, LokSound 5 Family, and then we're looking, since we're in North America and this is a US locomotive, we're going to look at LokSound 5 North American and Australian sound files. And you're going to get a huge list of files here. And what we can literally do is just go up to the search bar and we can type in EMD 16645. And we're going to get quite a list of options. So maybe we want to limit our options a little bit. Actually, we don't need to. We can go through and we can see what we're looking for here. We can even just type in 16645 and we can get our options. But the one I want to use is point out here for this model is S0508. Now you'll see all of our sound file numbers noted as article numbers on the right side of every sound file block on the website. And that sound file number is very important. if you want to order your decoder from a dealer preloaded, you would want to give them that number. And then you can just literally plug it in. If you do get a LokProgrammer later, now you can go back and do all your extra programming that you want to do. Or program it with CVs without even the need for the programmer. So it's a very nice little point there. That's how we work with sound file numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this S0508. We're going to hit download, and click on it, accept the license agreement, and it's going to download to our downloads folder. Once it's done that, we can just go in here to our downloads folder. You'll see the file here. And what you always want to do is open sound files directly in the LokProgrammer 5 software. You don't want to click on the generic LokProgrammer 5 icon. You always want to just click directly on the sound file itself. That starts with that S0 number, if it's a retail file. That will automatically open into the LokProgrammer software. Now we're going to do nothing else except go to the programmer menu, and we're going to say write sound data. Now I do have to step back a second here, because if this is the first time you're hooking up your programmer, you're going to want to go to the Tools menu, go to Program Settings. On the LokProgrammer name, you'll want to go to the serial port and make sure that you select the serial port for your device. And it'll come up as USB serial port with a COM number. And if you don't see that, it means the program or the programmer and the computer aren't talking to each other. So you always want to make sure you see USB serial port COM3, COM4, whatever yours happens to be. Mine is COM4 in this case. And then we can hit Save Changes. And you'll also notice in the lower right-hand corner of the window, you'll see the COM port number. So once you've gotten that all set up in the software, we can literally go to Programmer, write sound data, make sure that both checkboxes are checked for write decoder data and overwrite defaults with current values, and we're going to hit Next. Now this process is going to take about 30 minutes to do. It's probably going to find a firmware update, not in every case, but in most cases you'll probably have a firmware update, and then it will write the CV data of the sound file, and then it will write the sound data. Once it's done with the 30-minute process, we can immediately test it and operate it. And that's really all you have to do to get a sound file loaded onto a decoder. Now in the follow-up videos that we're going to do showing the LokProgrammer software, from that point we'll go through every one of the pages. You'll see all these various pages here, and that will help us further get all the lighting set up, get our sound volume set up, maybe our horn type, our bell type, and those things, which we can all do with all these different options. But that will be a future video series just on the LokProgrammer software. So for now, we're going to let this go, and it's just about ready to start writing the sound data. And there it goes. When it says writing sound memory, then it's going to be about a 30-minute process to let the sound fully get written. While it's writing, you'll also notice that the orange light and the green light kind of flicker on the programmer. And that's what you want to see. And you don't want to interrupt this process. Now, it's not too bad if it does get interrupted, but the whole point is that you want to let it go, and you don't want it to be interrupted. If it does get interrupted by some reason, you can always restart the process and reload the sound file again from the beginning onto the decoder, and it should be just fine. But ideally, you want to make sure that track power remains on during the entire process through the programmer. So I highly recommend not plugging the programmer into a power strip that can be turned off. Always plug it directly into the wall if you can, or a power strip that you never turn off, such as maybe for overhead lighting of your layout or something to that effect. That way you never accidentally turn off track power while it's writing a sound file. So now that it's going and everything looks to be really good with this, we're going to let it go, and then we'll join you back here once it's done to test it and verify everything works. So we'll see you soon. All right, now that the sound file has completed loading onto the decoder, we can proceed in the LokProgrammer software to the driver's cab, where we can immediately test our results. So you would simply just go over here to the driver's cab, hit go, and we can fire up the prime mover. We can turn on a light. You won't really be able to see it in the video, but the headlight is on. And we have horn, And we have the bell. We can change directions. You might see the rear light on here. Let's go back to forward, and we can even run it. Well, it sounds pretty good and seems to be working like we want it to. Okay. Let's go ahead and shut it down so you can hear me. And that's really all there is to getting started loading a sound file onto an ESU decoder. Now at this point, you'll want to go through, go ahead and hit stop, and you'll want to go through all of the different pages in the software and kind of one by one set things up. And that's what our next part of this series is going to be. We'll walk through the LokProgrammer software, we'll get all the lights configured in the locomotive, and maybe tweak the sounds a little bit, get the right horn, get the right bell, and modify the volumes to our liking. So stay tuned for that series. That'll be a whole new video series, the LokProgrammer software. There'll probably be multi-parts to that one, and we look forward to sharing that with you. So that wraps this video up. Hope you got something out of it for getting your LokProgrammer set up for the first time out of the box. Anybody that might have one sitting in the box, maybe now this will help you overcome your fear of getting it set up and getting it working for your layout and for your LokSound decoders. And now you'll have a lot more freedom and like we say, the VIP treatment to getting your locos set up the way you want them to. So hope you enjoyed it. And as always, visit our website at loksound.com for more information on the LokProgrammer, on our LokSound decoders, our LokPilot non-sound decoders, manuals, sound files. We even have a forum where you can go on and post your questions. Other people will answer, we will answer. If you can't get your question answered through the website, also send us an email at support@loksound.com and we will answer your questions that way as well. So again, we're here to help you, and we want you to enjoy your experience with LokSound and LokSound products. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Enjoy running your trains with ESU.